I slam the truck door and look up. Ethan Harper, the kid who shoved me into a locker in 2007, is grinning at me from a construction trailer, hard hat crooked, gold pen in his pocket. "Tommy? You okay, man?" he asks like nothing ever happened. Pause. My hands were sweating. My heart was pounding so loud I thought the whole trailer would hear it. I had not seen Ethan since graduation. Back then he was a bully with a faded Letterman jacket and a baseball cap pulled low. Now he had a shiny new logo on a trailer, Harper Homes, LLC. The site manager clapped him on the back and handed him a giant pair of ceremonial scissors for a ribbon cutting. He laughed, and the sound took me straight back to Mrs. Keller's classroom, where he had shoved my books and called me mouse until I shrank into a corner. I had left Lincoln High in 2009 with a backpack and a scholarship to community college. Ethan had made sure everyone remembered me as the kid who cried. He and his friends stole my lunch money twice, $12.50 and $15, and once pushed me down the auditorium stairs, which landed me with a concussion and 2 weeks of headaches. I had been late on a scholarship form because of that concussion. The scholarship went to someone else. I worked nights, took out a $3,500 student loan, and learned to be small. Years passed. I moved to the city, put myself through night school, got licensed as a building inspector, and took a job at the city planning department in January 2016. I wanted rules to mean something. I wanted safety to be real. I wanted the world to be orderly in a way mine never had been. Ethan's company first crossed my desk in July 2018. Permit #B 2018-4762 for a 4-unit townhome on 312 Maple Avenue. The application looked shiny. Architect's stamp. $2.3 million projected cost. A $2,500 plan review fee paid by corporate card XXXX4321, last 4 digits noted in the file. I opened the PDF drawings and almost dropped my coffee. The floor plans were identical to a set submitted 2 months earlier by a different developer for a different lot. I flagged it. A fund transfer from Harper Homes to a small contractor, Lopez Concrete, had a memo, site skip pay July 10, 18. It smelled wrong. At first I did my job. I requested soil tests, foundation load calculations, and verified subcontractor insurance. There were gaps. The geotech report had been entered with a scanned signature that didn't match the geotech firm's official stamp. The insulation spec was missing. Harper's project manager, Jason Cole, sent an email on July 12, 2018 at 9:03 saying, "Tommy, we're good. Just sign off so we can pour. Owner is on a hard deadline. J." I replied that I needed original seals and a contractor's certificate. They sent the papers again. Same scans. Different timestamps. Same signature that still didn't match. I called the geotech company, R&R Soil Testing. Maria Lopez answered on July 16, 2018, voice tired. She told me she had been paid by Harper Homes but the test sites listed on the report were wrong. I never went to 312 Maple, Tommy. We were in 401 Oak that day, she said. My hands started to shake. I stayed at my desk until 2 a.m. I pulled old permit files. I cross-checked invoices and bank transfers. I found 3 projects where Harper Homes had paid subcontractors late or not at all, then listed them as paid in sworn statements. A concrete invoice timestamped May 23, 2018 showed a Harper Homes payment of $64,850 marked as materials. The subcontractor's bank account showed only $18,000 received. The rest had gone to a shell company, HHL Management, registered in Ethan Harper's mother's name, with a bank account at First National with ending digit 7789. I made copies. My stomach turned. I did what I had been trained to do, document. I printed emails. I saved every PDF. I wrote down names: Jason Cole, project manager, Alicia Reed, accountant, and Ethan Harper himself. I went to the records room and pulled the company registration, Harper Homes, LLC, established March 2, 2013. Registered address? A UPS mailbox. CEO? Ethan Harper, DOB November 3, 1991. I felt a cold thrill. This was not just sloppy paperwork. This looked like systematic fraud. But it was also personal. I remembered the locker door that slammed. I remembered the $27.50 stolen from my pockets. I remembered Ethan on the bleachers, smirking when I flunked a tryout. That memory coiled inside me, and for a moment the line between city inspector and hurt kid blurred. I could have reported it to my supervisor and let internal affairs handle it. I could have filed the single complaint and walked away. I didn't. At 8:13 p.m. on October 2, 2018, I typed a 6-page report, attached every invoice, and delivered it to the city fraud hotline. Then I did something else. I sent an anonymous tip to Alicia Reed at the local paper, the Gazette. Her email was alicia.reed@gazette.com. The subject line read, "Construction fraud, Harper Homes, proof attached." I attached the PDFs and wrote one line, "This will matter to the people on Maple and Oak." A concerned citizen. That decision made everything worse. 2 days later I got a call from Maria Lopez. They called me. Jason called my dad and said I'm lying. They threatened to sue me for breach of contract, she said. My chest tightened. I had not wanted anyone to get hurt. Ethan's reaction was faster than I expected. On October 10, 2018, he came into the planning office unannounced. He strode up to my desk, hand extended. "Tommy? Long time. You on the Maple permit? You giving us trouble?" he asked, voice smooth. I felt the old heat rise up my neck. My hands were steady when I answered, but my voice sounded small. "I handle permits. I noticed discrepancies. I flagged them." He smiled like a shark. "You worry about your lane, Tommy. Don't get political. People don't like busybodies." He tried to intimidate colleagues. He offered bribes. On October 15, 2018, a city clerk told me a man in a Harper Homes jacket had offered her $1,000 in cash to forget a signature. She refused and wrote a note. I still had that note. He filed a defamation suit against Maria Lopez on October 22, claiming her statements were false. He hired a lawyer, Michael Grant, with a retainer fee of $15,000 shown on a check image later leaked to the press. I felt sick. I kept telling myself to step back. But every time I walked past the trailer at 312 Maple, I saw Ethan on the phone, laughing. On November 6, 2018, he posted a photo on his company's Instagram, Ethan in a suit shaking hands with the mayor at a ribbon cutting. The caption read, "Community building. Proud to invest in Maple Avenue." It had 1,204 likes. Comments cheered him on. The Gazette ran a story on November 15, 2018. Alicia Reed had turned my anonymous tip into a piece titled "Local Builder Under Scrutiny for Missing Documentation." She quoted Maria Lopez and printed bank transfer screenshots. The article went viral regionally. People who lived on Oak and Maple called the city's hotline. A local TV station interviewed one of the subcontractors who said his crew had been left unpaid for 3 weeks. Harper's lawyers responded with a cease and desist and a threat of a defamation suit against the Gazette. The city's legal team convened a hearing. On December 3, 2018, an emergency compliance review was scheduled. Ethan showed up with his lawyer, a stack of glossy binders, and a $1,000 smile. He looked the part of a local success story. The room filled with neighbors who wanted to know if their basements were safe. The compliance review was my moment. I took the podium. My voice didn't shake. I presented the timeline, the mismatched geotech stamps, the payments to HHL management, and the subcontractor testimony. I showed the ledger where $64,850 was labeled as materials but only $18,000 went to Lopez Concrete. I had the bank statements. I had the sworn affidavit from Maria Lopez. I had the city clerk's note about the $1,000 offer. Ethan's face changed from confident to pale. He tried to interrupt. "That's not how accounting works," his lawyer said. "But the ledger had signatures. the geotech firm backed me up. The city ordered Nathan Wells, the municipal auditor, to open a formal probe. On January 22, 2019, the probe found evidence of forged documents, underpaid subcontractors, and diverted funds. The auditor estimated missing funds across 3 projects at $312,400. The district attorney's office filed charges on February 4, 2019, fraud, forgery, and embezzlement. Harper Homes bank accounts were frozen. The UPS mailbox office returned the business mail. On March 18, 2019, Ethan Harper's name made every local headline. The mayor canceled the ribbon cutting and called the investigation a betrayal of public trust. My co-workers congratulated me, but their faces were thin with worry. There were subpoenas. There were interviews. There were reporters on my porch on a wet Tuesday. Ethan's downfall was not instant. He didn't go quietly. He blamed me in court filings. He offered to settle for $50,000 and a confidentiality agreement. He hired a PR firm and ran ads calling himself a job creator. He tried to paint Maria Lopez as unreliable. He actually had a hearing where he accused me of a personal vendetta. My past was dragged out: counselors, the concussion, the scholarship I almost had. It felt like being the kid again, except this time the stakes were adult, careers, families, real money. In June 2019, the DA accepted plea deals from 2 of Ethan's associates in exchange for testimony. Under oath, Philadelphia Materials Corp's accountant admitted to falsifying invoices. The evidence stacked up like a wall. On August 9, 2019, Ethan Harper pled guilty to 2 counts of forgery and 1 count of grand theft. He was sentenced on October 1, 2019 to 18 months in county jail, ordered to pay restitution of $150,000, and permanently barred from holding a contractor's license. Harper Homes declared bankruptcy and auctioned off equipment for $27,200. The Harper Homes logo came down from the trailer and a new sign went up: liquidation auction, everything must go. When I saw Ethan in court the day of sentencing, his hair was thinner and his cheeks were hollow. He stared at me like I had the power to turn him into dust. My hands were steady. My throat closed. I felt a wind and a hollowness. I had sought justice, but I had unleashed a storm. Subcontractors got paid. Families on Maple Avenue had safer buildings. But Maria Lopez had lost months of income while being threatened. I had received death threats in my email. I missed time with my partner because I was answering subpoenas. I had to hire a lawyer for myself, $6,500 retainer, paid out of my savings. The worst cost wasn't financial. It was how long it took me to stop going back to that locker room in my head. Seeing Ethan in handcuffs did not erase the years of being called a mouse. It didn't fix my scholarship. It didn't make the 19-year-old me stand taller. A month after sentencing, I stood at the corner of Maple and 3rd and watched workers replace the demolished foundation with a community garden. Neighbors were planting tomatoes. A kid from the elementary school ran by and high-fived an old man. I felt a small, steady warmth in my chest. People called it revenge. Some called it justice. For me, it was delivering the rules that I had always wanted enforced. I had lured a bully into a system that could not be bribed away. I had used paperwork, timestamps, and sworn statements, things Ethan could not shove into a locker or laugh away. I still think about the cost. I still hear the echo of those playground jeers on certain nights. But when the tomatoes grew, when the subcontractors finally cashed their long-awaited checks, I felt a measure of rightness. So here's the part one always asks myself, and I want to know what you think: if you ran into your bully years later and had the power to stop them without breaking the law, would you do it or walk away?